3 bank heists. One was carried out through an underground tunnel. One was done by the people who were supposed to protect the money. And one was so massive, it may have taken almost $1 billion from a country's central bank. These are 3 of the biggest bank robberies in history. And the strangest part? The biggest one did not look like a robbery at all. Let's start in Brazil. In August 2005, employees at the Banco Central branch in Fortaleza arrived for work after the weekend. At first, everything seemed normal. The building was still standing. The doors had not been blown open. There were no bullet holes, no broken windows, and no dramatic sign of a violent attack. But when they reached the vault, they found something impossible. A hole in the floor, and behind that hole was a tunnel. For months, a criminal gang had been secretly digging beneath one of the busiest parts of the city. They rented a nearby property and created a fake business as a cover. From the outside, it looked ordinary, but underground, they were building one of the most ambitious bank robbery plans ever attempted. The tunnel was around 80 meters long. It had lighting, ventilation, and enough structure to allow the robbers to move under the city without being noticed. Their target was the vault of Brazil's central bank. And when the time came, they did not storm the building. They did not take hostages. They did not fire a shot. They simply came from below. Over the weekend, the gang broke into the vault and removed around 164 million Brazilian reais. Most of it was in 50 real notes. The weight alone was enormous. This was not a few bags of cash thrown into a car. This was a massive amount of money that had to be moved carefully, quickly, and quietly. By Monday morning, the robbers were gone. The money was gone. And the bank was left with a giant hole in its vault floor. What made the heist even more shocking was how clean it looked. No alarm had stopped them. No camera had clearly exposed the operation. The robbers had spent months preparing for a few hours of execution. But like many perfect-looking crimes, this one started falling apart after the escape. Investigators followed money, property, vehicles, and connections. Some of the stolen cash was recovered. Several people were eventually arrested and convicted. But a large part of the money disappeared into the criminal underworld. The Banco Central heist became one of Brazil's most famous crimes. A robbery so cinematic it almost sounded like fiction. But the next case was different. No tunnel, no complex engineering, no secret underground operation. Just a bank, a fortune, and guards who vanished. In July 2007, Baghdad was still a dangerous and unstable city. In the Karada district stood the Dar Es Salaam Bank. It was supposed to be protected. But one morning when people arrived, the money was gone. Reports said the thieves were not outsiders breaking in. They were believed to be the bank's own security guards. The same people trusted to protect the vault were suspected of walking away with one of the largest amounts ever stolen from a bank. The figure was staggering, around $282 million in US cash. And on top of that, hundreds of millions of Iraqi dinars. To understand how unbelievable that is, imagine a robbery where the criminals do not need to sneak past security. They are security. They already know the building. They know the routines. They know when people leave. They know where the money is. And then, overnight, they simply disappear. There was no Hollywood-style shootout, no masked gang running through the street, no dramatic chase scene. Just silence. The guards were gone. The money was gone. And the bank was left with a question almost too simple to believe. How could this happen? But even this was not the biggest case, because the #1 heist on this list was so unusual that some people argue it was not a classic robbery at all. There were no robbers digging underground, no guards sneaking out with bags of cash. March 2003. Iraq was standing on the edge of war. The United States-led invasion was about to begin. and the country was entering a moment of chaos and uncertainty. Just before the bombs started falling, a massive amount of cash was removed from the Central Bank of Iraq. Reports at the time said the order came from Saddam Hussein. His son, Qusay Hussein, was said to have gone to the bank to collect the money. The amount was almost unbelievable, close to $1 billion. Some reports described hundreds of millions of dollars in US currency, along with a massive amount in euros. The cash was allegedly loaded into trucks and taken away. No tunnel, no alarms, no bank employees held at gunpoint, just an order from the most powerful man in the country. And that is what makes this case so different. Most bank robbers try to avoid authority. This one was allegedly carried out through authority. The Central Bank of Iraq heist is often described as one of the largest bank robberies in history. But it sits in a strange category. Was it a robbery, a withdrawal, an act of corruption, or the final move of a collapsing regime trying to move its money before the war began? Whatever label you choose, the result was the same. An enormous amount of money vanished from a central bank at one of the most critical moments in modern Iraqi history. Later, US forces recovered some cash connected to Saddam's regime. But the full story of the money, where it went, and how much was truly recovered, remains surrounded by confusion, war, and missing answers. And that is why this case is so disturbing. The Brazil heist showed patience and engineering. The Baghdad bank robbery showed betrayal from the inside. 3 robberies, 3 completely different methods. A tunnel under a city. Security guards who disappeared overnight, and a near billion-dollar withdrawal ordered at the edge of war. Each one sounds impossible, but all of them happened. And maybe that is the most disturbing part about the biggest bank heists in history. They do not always need explosions, masks, or getaway cars. Sometimes all they need is time, trust, and the perfect moment to disappear. If you want more true crime stories that sound too unbelievable to be real, subscribe to Story Worry.